Good morning. So I am back in Paris. I had gone to Provence for a wedding, and it is very beautiful in Provence. And we had a really lovely time. But I'm back here in Paris, which is also very beautiful, and taking a flight back to New York tomorrow. So I thought I would post something that may be of interest to everyone, because I see a lot of people here who are having a holiday and they're stressed about having a holiday. So I thought maybe I should talk about how to cope with stress and enjoy life. So I had made some notes and I'm going to get them out as well. But first of all, let us define stress. So, stress is usually defined as people can't hear. I'm really exhausted trying to explain to people that if you can't hear, tap the screen or hear a headphone, and then you will be able to hear. And since you can't hear me anyway, could somebody who can hear me tell people to tap their screen and also to use a headphone, and then they will be able to hear me, hopefully. Okay, so how is stress defined? Stress is defined as the perception of threat. The threat may be emotional, psychological, or physical. Now, I should also add that stress is not just the perception of stress, of threat. It is an interpretation of the perception, because perception is a sensory experience. So it's actually it is an interpretation in consciousness of what you think is happening to you, and that threatens your psychological, emotional, physical centeredness or stability. Having said that, in the great wisdom traditions of Vedanta, stress is that which interferes from the spontaneous flow of nature's intelligence as it expresses itself from the unmanifest into the manifest. Now, of course, there are major stresses that happen in everyone's life, like the diagnosis of a life-threatening illness, or the death of somebody in the family, or the loss of a job, or divorce. These are very major stresses. And then there are minor stresses, which are the daily hassles of life, like you get stuck in a traffic jam, or it takes forever to get to work, or people start to criticize you and you don't like it, etc., etc. Now, it turns out that the minor stresses of daily existence actually cause more biological damage than the big stresses, because the big stresses you do get used to after a while. Your body and your mind and your emotions adapt to bigger challenges, but they sometimes don't know how to deal with minor challenges. So we become used to a world, a civilization, if that's what we want to call it, of people who are constantly stressed about work, have no luxury of time, they are rushed, and the daily stream of challenges consumes the most important thing that we have. And what is the most important thing that we have? Awareness, self-awareness. So when you lose self-awareness, that is fundamentally, lose your center, then you have stress. So most people actually don't even realize that they're having loss of self-awareness because they've never even thought about it. And so there's lack of alertness and there's lack of focus and there's lack of ability to pay attention and slowly but surely people lose coping skills and then they start to get biological dysfunction as well. Stress is the number one disease of our civilization right now, if you want to call it that, and it is directly or indirectly related to almost every other illness: cardiovascular disease, stroke, inflammation, chronic diseases of other kinds, obesity, type 2 diabetes, and on and on. So let us see how people accumulate this biological distress as a habit when they are overwhelmed by daily pressures. And let's go over some of the common reasons. So, number one, taking on too much responsibility. So, you take on more than you can deal with. And this is very common in our society today. Number two, trying to exert too much control. People exert too much control because they think that without their taking over control, things won't happen and desirable things won't happen. So they have to be control freaks. And of course, we know that nobody is indispensable. Anyway, control freakishness is a sign that you're getting stressed. Number three, micromanaging and treating small stuff as if it's big stuff. So actually, when you focus on just this one thing, am I worrying about small stuff? Am I paying too much attention to small stuff? You'll realize everything is small stuff anyway, as has been said before. Okay, so number four, performance anxiety, worrying about what can go wrong. Always, some people have an obsession about what can go wrong. Number five, perfectionism, not recognizing that to be perfect is so boring. Number six, demanding too much of your mental energy. And number seven, allocating time in inefficient ways, the misuse of time. Somebody says death is not small stuff. Yes, death is part of life. Everybody has to die, and it's built into the cycle of creativity, because without death we would have no change, and without change this would be a static universe, and there would be no freshness, and we'd be all doomed to eternal senility, and we would probably the world would be like a museum. So thank God for death. Premature death is not a good idea. Death with intense suffering is not a good idea, of course. So disease that causes pain and suffering should be avoided and prevented as much as we can, and stress is the cause of it. Anyway, I digressed. So the list that I mentioned, and I'll go very quickly over it: taking on too much responsibility, trying to exert too much control, micromanaging, performance anxiety, perfectionism, demanding too much of your mental energy, and allocating time in inefficient ways. So, in a sense, these are all attempts at coping skills. Um, each of these things that I mentioned in the list is a response to pressure to prove this to yourself. You can just think about how you would approach a hobby that you really love, whether it's music, listening to music, or poetry, or even going to a concert, or playing a game, or any other thing that you really enjoy doing. Going for fishing, going for a walk in the park, or spending time with nature. You'll see that when you're in what we call the hobby mode, you're relaxed, you're having fun, you're enjoying yourself, you feel no pressure, you appreciate the steps that get you to your goal, you immerse yourself in the process, not on the outcome, and you're focused and centered at the same time. Focused and centered, like somebody who's doing a painting, or enjoying their yoga, or practicing martial arts, and so on. Now, of course, there are some hobbies like playing softball on the weekend, or entering a chess tournament, and they can feel pressured or stressful because you're in a competitive state. The point I want to make here right now is being stressed is a state of awareness, and then being in that restful, alert, focused, centered state is also a state of awareness. We're talking about two different states of awareness. And the best way to define these states of awareness are work, or at least what you think is work, and then the opposite of that, play, what you think is play. So actually, work should not force you to be stressed, because work can be fun as well. Your job doesn't force you to be stressed. What creates stress is being unconscious, being not self-aware. Okay, and if you're not self-aware, or you're not aware, or you're unconscious, then you can't change what you're not aware of. You can only change things that you are aware of. Okay, so this is my first attempt to give you a insight into the nature of stress. And of course, in my life, I have learned that one of the best ways to get rid of stress is the daily practice of meditation, mindful awareness, awareness of breath, self-observation. And these are all very easy ways of tackling stress. Even being aware of breathing, being aware of mental space, thoughts and feelings. As I love to quote the great Krishnamurti, the highest state of intelligence is the ability to observe yourself without judging yourself. But of course, then other things, yoga, martial arts, pranayam, but also laughter, watching a funny movie, or even listening to jokes or cracking jokes. You can go on the internet, you'll find a lot of sites where they have very lovely jokes. So, laughter therapy. In fact, now there are schools of laughter yoga as well. Imagination, visualization, massage, music, sleep, crying, even sex. These are ways to go beyond the perception of physical threat. Of course, as long as you don't have performance anxiety. Some people do have that even in sex or even when playing music, and you have to be aware that that will rob you of the experience that should actually bring a lot of joy to you. So anyway, have I missed anything? As I said, even crying can be a stress release. So don't be afraid to cry. Exercise, of course, is a great way to relieve stress as well. Okay, somebody said, I would love to hear your jokes. So let me think of a good joke right now. Well, the only ones that come to mind are very racy jokes right now, so I will skip that for now. Okay. At a later stage, I will go even more deeply into really how to go beyond stress. When you have fun in your life, it's because you have a joyful, energetic body, because you have love and compassion in your heart, because you have a reflective, alert mind, and because you have lightness of being, and because you are spontaneously focused on life-centered present moment awareness. You're experiencing life-centered present moment awareness. So here is something that you might want to use even as a mantra once in a while. You should say to yourself, no resistance, no regrets, no anticipation, just this moment as it is. Somebody said art journaling. Yes, absolutely. It's beautiful, art journaling, and also these days coloring. Coloring is a great way to experience mindful awareness and play with qualia. Qualia are qualities of experience. So when somebody says how to not focus on drinking or addictive behavior, well, addictive behavior is a sign that you're losing your coping skills. Okay, so I want to conclude by telling you to please download the app Jayo.com. You see the URL Jayo, J-I-Y-O, Jayo.com, and this is a social platform that I created and co-founded with a wonderful friend of mine, Ponacha Machaya, and over here you'll find a lot of curated material to not only manage stress but unleash your potential, so that you can not only achieve the lightheartedness of being for yourself, but actually you can create a social network of like-minded people. And if you have enough of us in that state of awareness, maybe we could have a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier and happier world. Okay, I think that's enough for today, and I will I will join you again. Tomorrow I'm flying to New York, so I may not be able to do something early, but I'll try to do it once I get to New York. How's that? Take care. Cheers.